That gospel takes place at the Last Supper. There's a snippet out of the discourse at the Last Supper. And Jesus is speaking in riddles to the disciples. And they have no idea what he's talking about. You know, when he says, "A little while you will no longer see me, and again a little while, and you will see me." They don't understand. But at the resurrection, it becomes clear to them. And, Jesus was basically telling them that he's going to return very soon. So this is the climax of salvation history, is suffering, death, and resurrection. And he knows it's going to be very difficult on the apostles. It's going to shake their faith. And so he tells them ahead of time. And they don't understand it at the time, but when they see the resurrected Jesus, their faith goes to the next level. All this stuff that Jesus has been telling them about, that he's the Son of God and he's going to be raised from the dead, it all of a sudden makes sense. And they've got this very strong faith now because of that. Okay, and so it's an interesting thing with the riddle, but it's actually a prophecy that he's going to return very soon after his suffering, death, and passion. Now, 20 years later, advanced, St. Paul is in the middle of his second missionary journey. He's like in middle of Greece, what we would think of Greece, and Corinth. And he's preaching that, Jesus, the long-awaited Savior, the Son of God, has come to save us. He's come, 20 years earlier. And he's in Corinth. There's Jews, there's pagans, there's pagans who are sympathetic to the Jews. It's a huge mix of stuff. And Paul is out to evangelize all of them. And there's a lot of really neat little details in that Acts of the Apostles. And so, but Corinth is a city, and if you would think of Greece as like Florida sticking out with the Gulf on one side and the Atlantic on the other, sticking out in the water, you could think of that as Greece, and in the middle, having a cut on either side with a small isthmus, only maybe less than 4 miles wide, connected the north and the south part, and that's kind of like Greece is, and that's where Corinth was. And so on the west, there's Ionian Sea, and then there's Italy. On the east, there's the Aegean Sea, and then there's Turkey. And so it's like the shortcut between Italy and Turkey. And so Corinth is this big port city, and it's just a melting pot for all sorts of different cultures and peoples and stuff like that. And that's where Paul is. And so Paul, in today's readings, he's been preaching, evangelizing in the synagogues. And the people in the synagogue, the leaders, are opposing him. And he's just frustrated with it. And he says, well, the heck with you guys. I'm going to start preaching to the Gentiles now. And so he walks out. He leaves the synagogue. He doesn't go very far. He goes to Titus's house, which is right next to the synagogue. And Titus is a pagan, but he's sympathetic to the Jews. And so Paul, while he's evangelizing Titus there and staying at his house, this guy named Crispus, who's one of the synagogue officials, he converts, and his whole family converts to, Christianity. And so think about that. What's Paul doing? He's bringing unity between two very opposed parties, the pagans and the Jews, and he's actually bringing them together, through Jesus and the true Lord, So there's this example I'm going to give you. So we're going to jump off into Africa. So there's a Western Africa country named Ghana, and it's got lots of water in it. There's lots of crocodiles, and crocodiles are mean, nasty beasts. But they have this really cool symbol there where it's like a Siamese twin alligator, so it's or a crocodile. So it's got two heads, but one stomach. And it's actually a symbol of unity. And so each head has the same goal, to fill up the stomach, And so they can fight each other, not reach their goal, and tear each other up, or they can work for the goal of feeding the stomach. And it's kind of like what Paul was doing with the pagans and the Jews. He's trying to show them that they actually have the same goal. They want to come to know God. And they can fight each other, or they can work together to come to know God. And so that's what Paul is doing there. He's actually bringing unity between all these different peoples there. Now, we run into resistance in our lives. We run into Protestants that don't believe in the faith, the same faith that we do. And we can think of all these differences between us. And there's people that have left the faith, and we could consider themselves atheists, and so there's tensions there, and then there's Jews, and then there's Muslims and all that. But we have to realize, like St. Paul did, that the real goal, that everybody has the same goal. They want to know God. They want to come close to God. And by bringing Jesus to these different peoples, he's able to bring unity to them. And so we're challenged to do the same thing when we run into lots of resistance and frustrations in our lives.